Happy Sabbath. On the night of the Last Supper, Jesus told his disciples the core of his message and gave them a few promises. And that's why Jesus wanted his disciples to gather together with him at the Last Supper, at the last Passover time. And Jesus showed his disciples and people around him and all over the Israel what God's love is about. And of course, the book of John chapter 13 verse 34 says that a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another. So this is one of the core messages that Jesus wanted to show his disciples. Jesus said, this is the new commandment, because his disciples and even us today, we may not have been loving each other in the way that Jesus has loved us. What is the most important thing in believing Jesus? That is love. Love thy neighbors like Jesus does. And you know what I really earn or learn throughout my life in Jesus Christ is actually give true love to one another. Give true love. Experience the true love from Jesus and also give true love to other people. I've learned prophecies from the Bible, all those things that is happening, the book of Revelations and Daniel and everything. But the most important thing that I've learned from the Bible is love. To the disciples, this commandment was new, for they had not loved one another as Christ had loved them. Yes, this is it. Love thy neighbor. This order or this commandment has been around in the Bible from Old Testament, so long time. But since the cross of the Jesus Christ, the commandment itself has been translated through Jesus and explained to us in reality. And what I have experienced here, the most devastating threat to each and every one of us within this church is the evil spirit, the selfishness, boasting to each other, and arguing over each other's opinions. These things are the most dangerous stuff, which actually come from Satan. And this new year, Jesus is telling us to love each other like Jesus did. Can we love each other like Jesus did and Jesus does even now? And Jesus is telling us today that if we cannot love one another as Jesus loved us and loves us, then it means we are not the disciples of Jesus. The book of John chapter 13 verse 35, it says, by this all will know that you are my disciples, if you have loved for one another. So loving one another, loving each other means that having a relationship personally from me first, and inside of me there's Jesus living, right? Jesus living inside me is communicating with another Jesus inside of another person. So Jesus to Jesus, we are not loving each other, but Jesus inside of us makes us love each other. So we are connected into one. I don't know if there is anyone here who suffers from osteoporosis. which makes bones of the human body have a pores and makes them weaker when they get old. And how can we get over with this sickness, this disease? So please open your ears and listen to today's sermon well. Please. So recent experiments have found the truth of this osteoporosis. Recently, researchers at the State University of São Paulo in Brazil have found a special drug that can control and prevent osteoporosis. It is oxytocin, commonly called love hormone, because it has a function that enhances feelings of love and trust. Yes, the scientific experiment has found this. The sunlight actually gives us a power to create calcium, right, for our bones. So love, which is like a sunlight from God to us, this love is actually the core source of treatment. Vitamin D is the most important thing in making bones strong. As well known as it is, vitamin D is produced within the skin cells when our body is exposed to the sunlight. However, oxytocin is not produced by consuming food either. The only way to produce this hormone is through hugs or conjugal relations. In other words, it is not by any matter that the most important hormone can be made for health in old age, but by love. So how can we get over? How can we overcome? How can we be healed from this osteoporosis? Is to love each other. So please, if there is anyone, any husbands and any wives who suffer from this osteoporosis right now, then you need to seek more love from your loved ones, your husbands and wives. And you have to love one another more. This is found by the scientific experiments. So as for me, I've experienced a lot of things here in this Serenam New Start Center. I've seen a lot of people, when they gain back their love, true love, when they found their true love in Jesus Christ, their sickness will be gone. So when we receive love from Jesus Christ through the Holy Spirit inside our hearts, inside each and every one of us, then, and by only then, we can love one another. And our promises before God will be made. When men are bound together, not by force or self-interest, but by love, they show the working of an influence that is above every human influence. Where this oneness exists, it is evidence that the image of God is being restored in humanity, that a new principle of life has been implanted. Amen. The mind, the each and every mind that we have to have Jesus inside us to love one another. And before that, we have to experience what Jesus wants to give us, the peace and love inside our hearts, so that we can love one another. We can be connected to each and every one of us. We cannot make love by ourselves. If we think we can make true love within ourselves, not by Jesus, but only for ourselves, then which means that we are being hypocrite. But Bible is now promising us and showing us exactly where this love comes from. It shows that there is power in the divine nature to withstand supernatural agencies of evil, and that the grace of God subdues the selfishness inherent in the nature heart. So just like love one another could prevent this osteoporosis, the power of God and grace of God and love of God can actually heal any diseases that we have. So in conclusion, we have to believe and we know that this is true. And let us promise to ourselves for this year that love Jesus first and receive love from Jesus and love one another. This is a picture of a woman suffering from anorexia. And one on the left is a picture of her now. And on the right is a picture of her before she started suffering from anorexia. Looking vigorous and lively, right? This picture too. On the left, she was model, by the way. And she has become all skin and bones now because of suffering from the anorexia. And one of the doctors, Korean doctors, has found the reason why. Interview Kim Yuli, a psychiatrist at Seoul Pack Hospital. And when oxytocin was administered to anorexic patients, oxytocin was found to reduce anxiety in the mind or anxiety about food or weight of anorexic patients. So they refuse to eat because their mind thinks that they are fat. And it is actually the problem of their minds, psychological problem. But when they start to understand what true love is, and when they are being loved from other people, and when they start to love other people too, then they start to feel, they want to eat again. They want to be normal again. So when their spiritual and mental problems are being solved, then that's the time their physical problem solves too. So look at this picture right now. Yes, they suffer from anorexia, but they went back to the past where they were still healthy. So which means that loving each other is being healthy. We should cooperate with God in the care of our bodies. Love for God is essential for life and health. Faith in God is essential for health. In order to have perfect health, our hearts must be filled with love and hope and joy in the Lord. So it is now saying that we have to cooperate with God for us to be healthy and well-being. I'm also sometimes worried about my own health. If I lose my health, and it means that I cannot actually spread gospel and give speeches about health anymore, right? So I take some time off from my whole schedule and try to go out and have some walk. And walking is actually one of the greatest exercise that we can get. And please take some time from your daily life, daily schedule, and go out for a walk, please. You have to do it intentionally. We've just saw some pictures about the patients from anorexia patients. But what about eating too much? So this scientist, this doctor has found another thing about this, cannot control someone's appetite. Professor Kim Yuri's team in Inje University confirms decreased calories consumed. Prospects for the development of treatments. Researchers in Korea have discovered the possibility of treating bulimia patients who eat food out of control with oxytocin, known as love hormones. Yes, this love hormone oxytocin can control our minds and our behaviors too. So what is the best oxytocin we can get? That is love of God. So this power of the medicine called oxytocin, which is coming from God, we have to actually consider this very precious. We have to value it in our lives. We have to experience it. We have to hold on to Jesus' love and cross every day to receive love every time. Love for God is essential for life and health. Faith in God is essential for health. In order to have perfect health, our hearts must be filled with love and hope and joy in the Lord. Yes. So, this year, let us promise to ourselves and before Jesus that we will not give any moment to Satan by thinking about Jesus every moment. I want to introduce one lady to you today and her testimonies. She used to attend the Seronam church before, but she left here for a few years ago, and then she fell for this worldly stuff, and of course she fell ill. And let's listen to her testimony now.
제가 찬양이랑 아멘이 몇 년간 나오지 않았던 사람이에요. 근데 그 말 여기에서 대화를 하면서 아멘 아멘 소리가 나오고, 그리고 저도 모르게 계단을 올라가는데 흥얼흥얼 거리고 있는 거예요. 그게 정말 감사했어요. 저녁 운동을 가서 하늘의 별을 보는데 별이 정말 아름다운 거예요. 맨날 별을 보면 제가 근심을 했거든요. 근데 별을 보면서 그 모든 것들이 다 나를 위해서 만들어주신 거, 내가 이렇게 기뻐할 수 있게 만들어주신 거라는 걸 생각하게 됐어요. 그리고 이제 제가 진리를 정말 잘 받아들일 수 있게 된 거, 이것이 정말 감사했어요. 내 감정이 아니라 조건 없이 쳐다본다. 그래서 지금 내가 겪고 있는 이 통증이, 이 아픔이 내 것이 아니라 이게 사단이 우리를 속이는 거고 계속 쳐다봐야 된다라는 점을 알려주시는 거예요. 그리고 이 말씀이 계속 들어오니까 제가 유튜브랑 인터넷을 통해서 뉴스를 보는 거 정말 좋아해요. 제가 제게 관심사거든요. 정치는 어떻게 돌아가는지, 세계는 어떻게 돌아가는지 정말 관심사인데 어느 순간부터 이 생각을 제가 안 하고 있더라고요. 지금은 켜도 그냥 안 보게 되는 거예요. 이것이 저한테 정말 은혜였고 감사한 점입니다. 그리고 죄책감 문제. 제가 죄책감을 가지면은 짧게는 일주일, 길게는 뭐 한 달까지도 가는 거예요. 몇 달까지도 가는 거예요. 근데 여기에서 계속 예수님을, 사모님 말씀하신 10,000번 이상을 부르니까 1일로 줄어들다가 몇 시간으로 줄어들다가 몇 분 만에 해결이 확 되더라고요. 이게 정말 저한테는 가장 큰 복음이었습니다. 말씀을 듣다가 하나님이 생각을 주시는 거예요. 신랑을 용서하고 싶다는 마음이 가득 커졌어요. 그래서 신랑한테 바로 전화를 걸었어요. 그래가지고 내가 미안해 라는 말을 했습니다. 그러니까 왜 그래? 그러더라고요. 뭐 때문에 이러더라고요. 그래서 그냥 모든 게 미안해 라고 제가 얘기를 했어요. 그랬더니 저희 신랑은 제 앞에서 거의 울지 않는 사람인데 울먹울먹 소리가 들리더라고요. 그러면서 거기 진짜 좋은 곳이다. 나도 가봐야겠어 이러는 거예요.
How can you make your husbands come here? You better say, I'm sorry, right? That he would come here. If you want to introduce this Seronam News Center to other people, tell them that you are sorry. This lady couldn't say amen or giving any praises to God for many years. But when she felt the love from God, then her faith was totally restored. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 20 says, that you may love the Lord your God, that you may obey his voice, and that you may cling to him, for he is your life and the length of your days, and that you may dwell in the land which the Lord swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give them. So to love Jesus, to love God, is for you to live longer. Please love Jesus more and more. But there are two things in this world. There are two different ways in this world. So everyone's life actually ends up in two different ways. One way is to love God with whatever we have. The possibilities of life for every man are ultimately reduced to two. One is to love God with all one's powers. The end result is life in all its fullness, ultimately merging into immortality. The alternative is the disregard of God's good pleasure, with one's life devoted to things of this earth. A life spent persistently in such a way leads to eternal death. There are two ways, and one way is to love God and to follow what God has told us. But the other one is to love this world and follow what Satan is telling us. But sometimes we can experience this, right? Sometimes we can experience ourselves that we are putting our different foot to each places. Once we hear God's voice and word from the church and from the sermon and seminars, our minds, we promise to ourselves, we're going to do this. We're going to follow Jesus. But when we go back to our home, then maybe our minds will go away. So what we have to promise to ourselves and before the cross of Jesus Christ this year is to go back to Jesus every moment and try to experience the love that Jesus is giving us and to love one another through that love that we experience from Jesus. When we try to reduce the anger inside our minds, when we try to stop being angry for ourselves, we will fail for sure. But forget about everything that we want to do, that we can do. Just go back to God. Just call upon the name of Jesus. Then every other problems that we have in our lives, or spiritual problems, or mental problems, or physical problems that we have, Jesus will solve. So this is the first thing we have to do for this new year. We have to receive. We have to believe and receive that Jesus loves us. And one of the greatest friendship we can ever find in the Bible is the friendship between David and Jonathan. They loved each other with their life. 1 Samuel chapter 18 verse 1, it says, "Now when he had finished speaking to Saul, the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul." What about Jesus? Jesus died. Jesus gave him his life for us. So this love and friendship between David and Jonathan is actually showing us only a bit of the love of Jesus. Who is the prince? Jonathan was a prince. Who was the heir to the throne of Israel? It was Jonathan, not David. But David was trying to become a king, right? So when we look at politics, even South Korea, even any other countries around the world. The politics are so dirty, right? They fight each other, they argue each other, they say some derogatory things to each other to make them pay and make them collapse. But look at Jonathan. Jonathan loved David more than his own life. So he gave up his throne. He was heir to the throne, next throne, but he gave up for David. Jonathan, by birth, heir to the throne, yet knowing himself set aside by the divine decree, to his rival, the most tender and faithful of friends. This is the greatest friendship we can ever find in Bible, I think. John the Baptist, he proclaimed that Jesus, the Messiah, has come. And this John the Baptist, all of his disciples went to see Jesus and follow Jesus. But he didn't make it a big scene or make it a problem at all. So this John the Baptist from the New Testament and Jonathan from the Old Testament, both of them shows the character of God and Jesus to us today. So why don't we try our best to love each other with all our hearts and all our life? Let us promise to ourselves. Let's make this as a New Year's resolution. Let's do this. Let us do this in the year of 2023 to love one another, please. The name of Jonathan is treasured in heaven, and it stands on earth a witness to the existence and the power of unselfish love. Amen. Unselfish, which means I am gone. I am living my life, but I am not the center. I am not the main character of my life. That is unselfishness. Then, let me just give you one question here. How can we show that we have unselfish love? Can you see? Can you see my under jacket? No. Our life, through our life, Jesus' love is shown. So that's why Bible is talking about each and every one of us as a letter of Jesus Christ. What fruit have we borne during the year that is now past? What has been our influence upon others? Whom have we gathered to the fold of Christ? The eyes of the world are upon us. Are we living epistles of Christ, known and led of all men? So we are the letter of Jesus Christ. Let us imagine how wonderful it is for us to listen to the person who didn't know Jesus speaking of love of Jesus because of our sacrifice. The story of Ruth and her mother-in-law, Naomi, shows us true love. Naomi was from Israel, living in a foreign country, Moab, with her two sons trying to get away from famine. And her sons were married to women of Moab. But all of them died, except for Naomi and her daughters-in-law, Ruth and Orpah. Now trying to go back to Israel, Naomi told them to go back to their mother's house. And the last one that stayed with Naomi was Ruth, without husband. Do you know why? The Bible is talking about the love, because of the love that Ruth found in Naomi. The book of Ruth, chapter 1, verse 16 through 17, it says, "But Ruth said, 'Entreat me not to leave you or to turn back from following after you. For wherever you go, I will go. And wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. And where you die, I will die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts you and me. My beloved church members and my friends here, please, what did the people around us, what did our families, what did our friends and church members or neighbors saw through me last year? So let us be clear and let us make this as our New Year's resolution, that we stay in the love of Jesus Christ and show each and every one of us and each one another to show one another the love of Jesus. So we can imagine how happy we will be, how happy Jesus will be too. Ruth's only knowledge of the true God was what she had seen of him reflected in Naomi and the other members of Naomi's family. So we are the letters of Jesus. So we have to show God's love written all over us to other people. And a person that I was having a little session with the other day, she told me last time that all of her family, all of her relatives were Christians. And when her family was departed, then that was a time that her relatives finally showed their claws, their sharp teeth toward her. So is it really Christianity? Is this really what Jesus wants us to do? No. We have to show even a little bit of Jesus Christ that is written inside us. I would love to introduce one lady with a cancer. She was diagnosed with a cancer, who actually came here. Her daughter is actually a doctor. Her own doctor diagnosed her with it was a terminal stage. And then the doctors showed her many different ways, but she came here. So this is her.
작년 10월 9일 날 병원에 건강 검진을 갔다가 암이라는 친구를 만나게 됐어요. 제가 유방암이었었는데 제가 3중 음성 유방암이라는 걸 알게 됐어요. 암 중에 제일 안 좋은 유방암이더라고요. 항암을 받고 싶은 생각이 안 들었는데 자녀들의 권유에 있어서 항암을 받다가 4차를 받았는데 너무너무 힘이 들어서 항암 받다 죽겠다 그러고선 이곳에 오게 됐어요. 이곳에 왔는데 원장님이 말씀을 하시는데 채널 2개가 있다는 거예요. 하나는 하나님께로부터 오는 메시지와 사단으로부터 오는 메시지가 있다. 어머, 이 얘기를 듣는데 정말 나의 생애를 돌아보니까 정말 우리 삶이 선악간의 대쟁투였던 거예요. 그래서 이제 여기 와서 그 한 채널을 끊어버리라고 말씀하시는 거예요. 그래서 그래, 내가 이제 사단으로부터 오는 생각들을 끊어야겠다 이러면서 그 연습을 시작했어요. 어머, 생각보다 이 사단이 나를 공격해 오는 그 강도가 되게 센 거예요. 그래서 생각이 올 때마다 여기서 예수님을 부르라고 하더라고요. 그래서 막 어느 날은 공포가 밀려와요. 그러면은 하나님, 저 공포스러워요. 이 사단이 주는 생각을 끊어주세요. 이렇게 하고 또 어느 날은 막 통증이 와서 잠을 못 자요. 그러면 하나님, 저 통증이 와서 잠을 잘 수가 없어요. 이 사단을 대적하고 싶어요. 그러면서 예수님의 이름을 부르면 그 통증이 사라지고. 근데 이게 날마다 벌어지는 거예요. 그런데 기도하고 나서 통증이 사라지는 경험을 몇 번을 하니까 내가 쓰러져도 넘어져도 일어날 수 있는 건 예수님의 이름을 부르면 되겠다. 성경 말씀에 의인은 7번 넘어질지라도 8번째 일어나는 게 의인이라 이런 말씀이 있잖아요. 그래서 제가 그 말씀이 너무 용기가 돼요. 내가 앞으로 싸워야 할 싸움이 많은데 이 싸움에서 승리하는 법을 여기 와서 배웠기 때문에 이거를 적용하면 되겠다. 이런 그 방법을 여기서 배워서 너무 행복하고 하나님께 감사해요. 그래서 제가 이제 이 싸움이 끝나는 날까지 또 나의 생애가 지속되는 한 예수님을 부르면서 살고 싶은 그런 결심을 다시 한번 이 시간 하게 됩니다. 감사합니다.
This lady made a resolution
예수님 쪽으로만
before Jesus, right?
가기로 결심한 거예요.
So what was the resolution?
마음은 앞으로 어떻게 될지 이분은
To
모르겠어요.
choose Jesus only.
그런데 하나님은 내가 예수님 쪽을
Nobody
선택하게
knows
되면
what would happen to her
그래,
and her
꼭
cancer.
정확한 지식으로
But
당신 수술해야 돼. 당신은 항암해야 돼.
the only
이런
way we
것들을
could do
보고
is not fall for those
보답하도록
chemotherapy or those things, treatments that the hospital is actually making us do, but to look at Jesus only. So what we have to promise to ourselves and make a resolution for this year is to go back to Jesus. Then He will do everything for us. Jesus is coming very soon now. Every ways that we look, every place that we look around, Ukraine, Russian war, they're fighting because of the money. Their Russian president Putin is now trying to use their nuclear weapons too. All the competitions, disasters, politics, the global warming problem, the garbages in the deep sea. What about the weather?
미국에 영하 50도 내려갔대잖아요.
It was minus 50 degrees in the US.
어떻게 그렇게 내려갈 수가 있어요?
Can you imagine how cold that is?
우리 이제 떠나야 돼요.
We have to leave.
여행 가방 준비했나요?
Traveling baggages.
우리가 준비하고 가야
We have to leave this planet. But
주님께서 그것을 우리에게 이야기하셨어요.
before leaving this world to heaven, we have to prepare something. The love of Christ will animate the believer with new life in Him who looks unto the author and the finisher of our faith, and the character of Christ will be manifest. When we continually look at Jesus and receive the love from Jesus, then, only then,
교회도 그렇지만
we can show love to other people.
들어오셨다가 나가시는 분들
I've seen many people coming here and going out, and coming here and being healed and being not healed. But the important thing is, I've seen many times God gave them several different chances. And a person who took it and believed in Jesus Christ was actually healed. But the person actually saw the chance that Jesus was giving him, but person didn't take it. So what about us? Our life is so precious. Jesus sees us very precious beings. This is kind of terrifying me sometimes. But we have to look at ourselves today that whether we are actually trying to receive the love from Jesus and trying to take the chance that Jesus is giving us day by day, or we just throw them away by our own selfishness. Sometimes I cannot remember people's name well nowadays. And please understand me because I'm getting old right now. Can I remember all of your names sometimes? Me too. Sometimes, if I forget someone's name that I used to know, then I think of myself sometimes. What if I will get sick? So before that happens, we have to see Jesus. We have to meet Jesus. It was by receiving of his life that his disciples could become light bearers. The life of Christ in the soul, his love revealed in the character, would make them the light of the world. The only time we can actually be a light of the world is to receive the love from Jesus Christ. We have to meet the love of Jesus Christ. Now, this year, 2023, has just begun. Let us make resolutions. Let us make promises to ourselves and before the cross of Jesus Christ too. Have you made any resolutions now, please? What would you do? Not to argue against your husband or your wives? No. We have to have the love from Jesus Christ. Be determined. You will seek Jesus until you find him. Release not your grasp until his love dwells in your heart and you have his spirit subduing your life and fashioning your character. Let us not let our hands go from Jesus Christ. Thank you. Our Father in heaven,
우리들에게 또 한 해를 유예 기간을 주셔서
we thank you so much for giving us another year
사랑과 은혜를 깨닫는 시간을
to
주셔서
know and learn and experience your love in our lives, Lord.
과거에 어떻게 살았는지를
Lord,
돌아보는 특별한 시간들입니다.
this is time for us to look back our lives.
그 어떤 것보다 주님을 마음에 모시길 원합니다.
So Lord, please,
주님께서
we want to receive your love and receive Jesus inside our hearts this year
있지 않겠습니까?
so that the Jesus living inside us
그
will keep the
주님의
10 Commandments
더 경험하도록
and all the words that you have given us.
주옵소서.
Please, may you guide us and bless us to have the love of Jesus in this year.
주님께서 복을 주셔서
Lord, you have blessed us so much.
향상을
And you have blessed the Seronam Church
서로
in many different ways.
관계들을 갖게 하셨고
And you have given us
또 어렵지 않게
the chances to have
왔습니다.
a good relationship between one another.
그 모든 것을 가지고
Lord,
주님을 준비하는 생애가 되도록 도와주시옵소서. 그래서 우리뿐만
please
아니라 우리
make
모든
us
사람들이
prepare
구원을 얻는 가장
to live a life
축복을 얻는 우리 각 가정이 되도록
that you
2020
wanted us to live, Lord.
그렇게 축복해 주시옵기를
And may you
예수 구원
always
예수님
guide us
아멘.
to wait for the second coming of Jesus Christ. I pray all this in the name of Jesus. Amen.